all of it. All of it.
Robert McCall wakes up early and heads to his job at Homemart. Due to his obsessive-compulsive disorder, he meticulously times all his activities, including getting ready and cleaning up. His co-workers, unaware of his past, look up to him and treat him with kindness. On this particular day, he shares lunch with his colleague and friend Ralphie, who's currently working on losing weight. As Ralphie bites into his sandwich, McCall hears a crunch. Curious, he asks Ralphie about it and learns there are chips hidden inside. McCall often struggles with insomnia, so he has developed a nightly routine of visiting a 24-hour diner, reading novels while sipping tea. Currently, he's reading The Old Man and the Sea. A young girl in the diner asks him whether the man in the book has caught the fish yet. He replies, "Not yet." She finishes her pie and calls a cab. Back at Homemart, some younger coworkers ask McCall about his past, to which he jokingly claims he used to dance as a pip for Gladys Knight. That evening, the same girl is back at the diner and sees McCall reading a new book. He tells her how the previous one ended. Just then, a limousine pulls up outside, and she receives a call from her pimp, Slavy. He tells her the man in the limo is her client. She protests, saying the man makes her uncomfortable, but Slavy dismisses her concern and insists she do as told. An overweight man steps out of the car, and although reluctant, she gets in. The next night, McCall returns to the diner and notices the girl now has a bruise on her face. He gives her a donut he brought from work. Breaking their usual pattern, she decides to sit at his table, clearly distressed and in search of comfort. Though she goes by Terry, her real name is Alina. She later gives McCall a CD of her singing and asks for his opinion. She correctly guesses that McCall lost his wife and is still grieving. McCall confirms this and shares that his late wife had started a book challenge, which he now continues. As they leave the diner, they walk and talk until a car pulls up. Slavy and his driver Tavi get out. Slavy hits Alina in front of McCall, who refrains from intervening as Alina begs him not to. McCall notices Tavi carrying a gun. Slavy hands McCall a business card, suggesting he pick another girl instead. For several days, McCall doesn't see Alina and grows worried. One evening, he learns from the diner's manager that she was badly beaten and is now in intensive care. When McCall visits the hospital, he sees that Alina is badly bruised and disfigured. She's with Mandy, another girl who is crying. McCall watches from outside the room. Later, as Mandy prepares a cup of coffee, McCall comforts her and asks about Alina. He says he's a friend. Mandy reveals that Alina had hit Slavy back after being struck, which enraged him. She also says Slavy once disfigured a girl with battery acid as a warning to others. He treats the women like property. After some time reflecting, McCall decides to act. He visits the restaurant where Slavy and his men hang out and offers $9,800 in cash for Alina's freedom. Slavy laughs at the offer, saying Alina makes him much more than that in a month. He mocks McCall, telling him to come back when she's no longer valuable. McCall takes the money and starts to leave but then changes his mind. He locks the door, surveys the room for threats, starts a timer on his watch, and launches a violent attack. He disarms one man, making him shoot Slavy in the throat. He blinds another with a shot glass, stabs a third with a knife, and finishes off Tavi with a corkscrew. As Slavy bleeds out, McCall tells him what's happening to his body and that he's going to die. Following the killings, a Russian enforcer named Teddy arrives in Boston to investigate. He's working for Vladimir Pushkin, the mob boss behind Slavy's operation. Teddy starts tracking down leads with the help of corrupt cops. At this point, the assumption is that a rival gang is responsible. At Homemart, McCall notices Ralphie has stopped coming to work. A manager says Ralphie quit. McCall visits Ralphie's mother's restaurant and finds him helping her recover from a recent kitchen fire. Meanwhile, Teddy, along with a dirty cop named Frank Masters, visits gangster John Looney. When John mocks Teddy and Russians in general, Teddy beats him with an ashtray while Frank kills John's bodyguards. Two other corrupt cops, Remar and Peterson, visit Ralphie's mom's restaurant and demand protection money. They threaten to cause another accident if payment is late. McCall sees this and intervenes. He records a video of them extorting another store and uses it to blackmail them. When they ignore him, he beats them both and forces them to return the stolen money. Ralphie later shows up proudly in his new security guard uniform, having passed his test. McCall plays baseball with his co-workers in celebration. One day at work, McCall notices a robbery in progress. A man is silently threatening a cashier named Jenny. McCall calmly approaches, gives the man money, and watches as he takes Jenny's mother's ring. McCall memorizes the thief's appearance and license plate. The police later say the man is behind a string of robberies. McCall grabs a sledgehammer and disappears. The next day, Jenny finds her ring returned in the register. McCall is seen cleaning and returning the sledgehammer. Teddy interrogates Mandy about Alina's whereabouts. She lies, but Teddy forces the truth out and strangles her. He reviews footage of McCall entering but not leaving Slavy's restaurant. Teddy visits McCall, posing as an investigator. McCall sees through the act and gives vague but calculated answers. Teddy suspects McCall is more dangerous than he lets on. McCall is followed, and his home is infiltrated. But McCall outsmarts his enemies using hidden cameras and leaves behind a staged scene to look like he fled. In truth, he travels to meet old friends Brian and Susan Plummer, who worked with him in a secret agency. Susan confirms that the men McCall killed were Russian mobsters under Pushkin and that Teddy, or Nikolai, is Pushkin's top cleaner. She warns McCall that they won't stop until he and everyone he cares about are dead. McCall returns to Boston and confronts Frank Masters, trapping him in a car with carbon monoxide until Frank agrees to talk. Frank leads him to a warehouse filled with millions of dollars in cash. McCall disarms the guards, locks them inside with the money, frees the workers, and gives them bonuses from Pushkin's funds. He handcuffs Frank and tells him to report the truth. Frank reveals the full extent of Pushkin's operation, including corrupt officials on his payroll. McCall retrieves a USB drive from Frank's safety deposit box and anonymously sends the data to the authorities. He also blows up one of Pushkin's oil tankers. Teddy hires a team of assassins to kill McCall. Before the job begins, McCall sits across from Teddy and hands him the team leader's bloody sunglasses. He warns Teddy that he can end this now. Teddy refuses. McCall walks away. Teddy's men kidnap Ralphie, Jenny, and others from Homeward to lure McCall. But McCall instead returns to the store, sets traps using equipment, and picks them off one by one. He kills each of them, even as he sustains injuries. Ralphie helps, though he gets shot in the leg. McCall defeats the last of Teddy's men by blowing up the break room with propane canisters. In the chaos, McCall fatally wounds Teddy with a nail gun. 3 days later, McCall travels to Moscow. He sneaks into Pushkin's mansion, confronts him in the bathroom, and electrocutes him using exposed wires and water. As he leaves, dead bodies are seen throughout the mansion. Back in Boston, McCall resumes his peaceful life. Alina, now healing, tells him about her new job and love for reading. Inspired by helping others, McCall posts an anonymous ad offering help to those in need. One night, he receives a request. His answer, yes.